Hi everyone, welcome back to yet another tutorial series on a particular SQL assessment. So in this series, we're actually going to be attending or attempting to solve a SQL assessment using Python. So a practical application of Python to data analytics. And so the tools we're actually going to be looking at is some libraries. You are going to be doing a connection between um, Python and SQL, as well as Pandas. Pandas is a known library used in the data analytics and the data science field. You actually use them to mainly read um, tables, whether in the form of CSV or my Excel or SQL, and you display them in a data frame, which is a table. So this assessment is actually meant to be a SQL assessment, but what we're intending to do by it is actually to do a connection between um, a SQL database so that we can read this data and we can actually solve this problem to using Python. And so if you noticed, again, SQL assessment, they've given some of the conditions, so you can use available resources at your disposal: Google, ChatGPT, Gemini AI. So they're asking you to solve this problem using SQL, but you are allowed to do research. And so they've given certain instructions. They said as part of as a part-time data analyst, you are called in by the stakeholder of the supermarket. They have a data set taken from the first week of the first and last quarter of the year 2000. So the data frame is within 2000. They want to see how capable you are to draw insight from the data. They send you the CSV file called local sales. So you look through it, then you get started. But this time around, you know, they created a you create a database has been created, a table has been created to consume our database called local sales. Um, every other thing here. So I'm going to be sharing this link with you guys. But like I said, the goal here is actually to solve a SQL problem using Python. That's the goal. Just to apply some of your Python skills to data analytics. And so I'm going to be doing my import. I will also be sharing with you guys the database so that you guys can actually use it if you so want. And so in the data set, they were asking the first question, um, which person brought the most food over the entire period. So the first thing we are going to do is, what do you have our SQL database set up here? We've created everything here, the schema as well as the different tables we are going to be using. So if I display this, it's going to show me the information I need for the sales, as well as the customer by gender. For some weird reason, I think I just named the table gender instead of like customer info or something. Again, I really didn't know why I did that. And so we are going to be loading this particular data set, these two data set, from my SQL database. And so my SQL database has a username instance, a host, local host, and a port of uh, uh, 3310. And so I'm going to be doing a connection using some libraries. I've already installed them. I'm actually using Anaconda's and Jupyter Lab for it. If you want, you can use Jupyter Notebook. Preferably, I actually like to use Jupyter Lab. And let me open. Yeah, so this is my file. And let me see. So I have created okay, so let me go back to my where I want to launch my file from. Now this is my folder where I want to launch my project. I'll click on the plus sign and open a new notebook, a new Python notebook. And so the first thing I'm actually going to be importing is my pandas. And please, the other thing I can actually tell you guys is to install a SQL connector called mysql-connector -python. So I'm just going to paste it here. So you could do if you don't have it installed, pip, let me increase this, pip install MySQL. I already have it on my inside my Anaconda IDE -python. You can also install PyMySQL as py MySQL, as well as SQL Alchemy. Yeah, you could actually do that, but I've already done that, so I don't need to do that. Shift enter, when I click when I type shift enter, it's going to take me, it will run it and take me to another cell. So the other thing I want to do is to import pandas as pd mysql.connector connector as maybe connector. Shift enter, it's gonna run it. There's no error, everything is fine. And so I am going to create, so I would need to create a connection between MySQL and I will need to establish a connection to MySQL database. So I'll create a variable called con, and it's gonna be connector. That's my alias here, connector dot connect, and it's going to be taking certain parameters like the host name, that's the host, equal to whatever your host name is. So I said mine is localhost. The next thing, you enter the port. Mine is 3310, that's my port. My username is root. The password to my database, you enter the password. To your MySQL database, it's always there anytime you run. When you try to install your MySQL database, it will ask you for a password. So that's the password you're going to use. And which of the databases do I want? So the database I want in MySQL, again, it might be different for you, is this database. I'm trying to access this supermarket database. Now, mind you, in real time, all of these things, you need to hide them somewhere. It's really important you do. And for the reason we do that is for data security. It's really important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Python file, a new file. I'm going to create info.py. It's a module, and I'm going to import that module into my Python notebook. And so what it contains is basically, I can decide to hide this this particular variable inside this my Python file. So I can say host is equal to localhost, port is 310, username is root. I'm going to enter my password, and I'm not going to show you guys. And my database is supermarket. I can just say db equal to supermarket, pass, which is my password. Let me just say passes. User will be username, and port I can just say number, and host I can just say name. And I'm going to enter my password, and let me save this. I'll enter my password, and let me close this. I'll enter my password somewhere, but just know that the goal is to enter your password there. I'll enter it, and I'm going to import this info.py as a module in this my Python notebook. So let me just quickly enter my password somewhere in my info.py, and so I've entered it. So now I will now call the name that I'm going to import this module, this info.py, in my new notebook. So I can say from info import. What am I importing? I'm importing name. I'm going to import passes. I'm going to import db. I'm going to import number. What else? My user, I'll just say user. Now I can just replace this host as name, number. My username is user. I set it in my info as user, info.py as user. My password is passes. I think it's passes. Yeah, comma. Then my database name is db. So let me see, did I run this? Yes, I'll run this too. Okay, no. Okay. Oh, it said I didn't spell number right. Number. Let me run it again. Okay. The argument must be string or none, not tuple. Let me see what the error is. Database is name. Sorry, just hold on. Yeah. Oh, I made a mistake in my info.py. So inside the password, instead of me to set it as a variable, I added a comma. Let me rerun it again. Maybe I'm going to restart kernel and rerun, just so I've made changes. The name should be, let me SQL assessment. Let's say using assessment using Python. Is it SQL? Python as SQL. We can say Python SQL assessment. Okay, now it has actually connected without any problem. Now the next thing I want to do is to write a query that was going to bring, I'm going to write two queries. The first query is I want to read So I'm going to put a continuous comment, which is a triple quotation mark. So select, I'm going to write my query. What query down? The query I want to do is to select this particular table. I want to write this query that you guys can see here. I'm going to write this query out. So if you like, you can just copy because I need that particular table. So I'm just going to Control V, and I don't need to say supermarket dot. I can just say this is my query 1 and my query 2. I can just say query 1. I'm going to repeat the same thing, triple quotation mark with a continuous comment, so that I can write on multiple lines. And what I want is, I just want to view my gender. So again, I'm too lazy, I'll just copy. Control V. I'll just remove supermarket because already I've pulled Python, or I've inserted in my connection where my database is. So I'm going to run this, right? It's not going to show me anything now. So I know that the name of my table is sales. So I'll just say sales as a variable equal to pd dot read. Now what I want to read is read SQL underscore SQL. Then I'm going to add, it's going to take 2 arguments. This method is going to take 2 arguments. My query is number 1 and the connection is number 2. And I will do the same thing for the gender table. Suppose say customer info. Let me say cost info. And it's going to do, I'm going to copy this code because I'm too lazy, and paste it. So this time around is query 1. And I'm going to run it. So it's showing me that please consider using SQL-alchemy. I'm using the mysql-connector, mysql -connector Python. It's asking me to use mysql-alchemy. Well, I'm going to try that when I have the time. So now if I call in sales.head, and you can see it. Funny thing, it has showed me it is already reading that particular query as a data frame. And if I say cost info dot head, and you can do cost sales dot info, and it's going to show you if they are null values or not. And so I'm particular about this date of purchase. It's actually a date time, so and it's showing me object. While that is fine, I think I might just want to change it to date time. And so again, just for for clarity, and in case I want to do some date time analysis, so I'll say sales dot date dot you can either say sales.date, and by the time you run it, it's going to show you what that particular column, or you can say sales, then you say square bracket date, call the name of the column. Either one works. So but what I want to do is equal to I want to convert it from object to date time. So I'll say pd dot to date time, and I'm going to, what I want to change to date time, this same column. And I can say infer equal true. I think this has been outdated, but for some weird reason it still work. So yeah, it's saying that I think I can just say format equal true. I think can't remember, but I'm assuming it is so. Let me just quickly yeah, so you can say format equal mixed. So I'll just say format equal mixed, and the mix is just a variable. And by the time I run it, no errors. Now if I say sales.head, it's going to change that as object to sales.info. You see my date time will be that was object before is now date time. Again, it's just me, you don't necessarily have to do it. And we can then start answering questions using we can then start answering questions using our assessment form. So just to take a look at all of these, this is, it says integer, object because these are strings, object because these are strings, and purchase ID is showing integer as well because this is number. So everything is looking fine in terms of the data type formatting. And so that's really important. You really need to know how to format these things. Yeah, basically that will be it. In next video, we're going to start answering questions, and we'll see how we apply Python in data analytics to answer or to solve problems. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. If you do like the video, please subscribe, like this video, and share. The reason I'm insisting that you guys like the video is so that YouTube's algorithm can recommend this particular video to others. I'll be sharing the link for the assessment as well as the schema, which is the SQL database, so you guys can use it for your own practice. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful